On the menu today is going to be fish and grilled vegetables. And I'm actually going to make mahi mahi on the grill, and I'm going to roast the vegetables, a kind of a tray of mixed vegetables in this way that I do. And I thought I would just share it. It's a great summer meal, easy for when you're entertaining because it's quick to put together, and it's delish. So here's how we do it. For the veggies, we have broccoli and cauliflower, and I'm going to make it into not bite-sized pieces, but small-ish pieces. Let's see, let me show you some. So kind of like so, just kind of small pieces. And I'm going to toss them in a bowl first, because I find that when you toss them in a bowl with the olive oil, it coats them a little better than drizzling the olive oil after they're in the pan. So that is step one. This is a dish that my oldest son, Tommy, made for me down here one time, and I loved it. And so I have since adopted it. A quick look at the size of the pieces of broccoli, and they're just, kind of bite-sized chunks. And now we'll do the cauliflower. Cauliflower is also easy to do by breaking it up with your hands. Again, you want these to be just little small pieces so that they roast nice and crispy. I love to make a big tray of veggies because I dream that I'm going to have leftovers, but when I make this, I never have leftovers. All right, we have a nice bowl ready of cauliflower and broccoli. My oven is preheating to 400 degrees. I like to roast the vegetables at a little bit of a higher temperature. First step is going to be to drizzle the olive oil, and you can do a good amount here. Then I like to use sea salt for vegetables. So we just sprinkle some sea salt. We'll be tossing that around. One of my favorite Penzeys is the Northwoods, which works really well on veggies. So I'm going to sprinkle some of that. So the bonus that comes into this dish that makes it really delicious is I always have chopped nuts on hand. One of my favorite things I'll have to do a favorite things episode for the kitchen, but one of my favorite kitchen things is my little mini chopper. And I always have chopped walnuts and chopped pistachios in containers ready to go at any moment for when I want them. So we're going to put some walnuts in here, a nice healthy amount. I'm going to say like at least a half a cup if I was going to guess amounts. I'm going to give it a toss with my quiet spatula. And then I go for round two on my ingredients. So a little bit more Northwoods, a bit more salt. I'll add a little bit of pepper. And then some more nuts, sprinkle. I'm going to drizzle a little bit more on the olive oil because it feels a little dry still. Point to note about olive oil on veggies is that vegetables do create water. They contain water. So when you roast them, some of the water releases out of the vegetables. So you don't want to overdo the olive oil because your veggies will get soggy. So if you want to keep your vegetables a little crispy, a little less olive oil is best. I have a nice big tray ready because I'm dreaming that I'm going to have leftovers. Probably don't have to spray the bottom of the pan, but just in case, I'm going to give it a little spritz. And I'm going to pour the veggies in. Hopefully we didn't lose any. Now, one thing you'll notice when you roast vegetables is they do tend to shrink. So if the tray is a little bit full, like so, you'll see what happens when we take this out. It's not going to be quite as crammed with veggies when we take it out. The last thing I'm going to do is, just to top it off, since all the nuts are mixed in nicely, I'm going to do a little sprinkle on top of the nuts, just so we have a little decorative topping. And that is it. This is going to go in the oven for about 30 minutes until I put a fork, and you don't want these to be mushy. You just want a little bit of a firmness to the veggie, and that's when you know they're done. So I'm going to pop this in, and then we'll do the fish. This is a really nice fresh piece of mahi mahi that I picked up today at the fish market. And what I'm going to do is, first I'm going to cut it in half. I'm going to make 2 servings out of it. Maybe I'll just do it right on the dish. Let's do that. What I like to do is make a crisscross of aluminum foil for each serving of fish. Okay, now I take the aluminum foil and I kind of make a nice little square by lifting up the edges, like so. I do this. Just like that. My neighbor, Sarah, is going to be very happy about this episode because she always wants to know how I make this fish recipe. So I'm going to spray the bottom of each piece. Hi, Sarah. I don't want the fish to stick. Then we're going to take one piece of fish and put it in each piece of foil. Next step is you can use there's so many Penzey spices that work well for this, but I like this one, the jerk chicken and fish, or you can go with the Old Bay, whatever you have on hand. And that's the first thing. So we're going to sprinkle some of our favorite seasoning on top so that it gets into the fish nicely. We have our favorite wine, Santa Margherita. You can use cooking wine. I happen to have an open bottle of Santa Margherita, so I'm just going to go straight for the good wine. Don't tell Tom. And we're going to pour this in. Pour about, I'm going to say this is a couple of tablespoons on each side of the piece of fish. And then, this is going to sound crazy, but orange juice, any kind that you have on hand. You just sprinkle a little bit of orange juice. And you want to use, I would say the ratio is much less orange juice compared to wine, but it gives it a nice citrus flavor. So maybe, I'm guessing that's maybe 2 tablespoons, maybe 2 or 3 tablespoons of orange juice. Yes. Then I take my pistachios, which I already have pre-chopped and ready to go, and I'm going to sprinkle them on top. You can add breadcrumbs, a layer of breadcrumbs before the pistachios, but really I just like the pistachios plain and simple. So I'm not going to bother with the breadcrumbs, but if you want a little bit of a breadier crust, you can add some breadcrumbs first and then put the pistachios on top. And then the magic sauce is 2 pats of butter, thin ones, on the top. You could opt for a drizzle of olive oil if you'd rather not use butter. So now I'm going to bring you over here so you can get a close look at this. Here we go. And that is it. Now I just fold up the foil and tighten it up at the top. So I take the sides, make sure that the liquid doesn't spill out. Just do this carefully. Do it kind of all 4 at once. And pinch the top, like so. So you have a little package per person, individually wrapped, for serving. And these go on the grill for about 10 minutes each. And then you can peek inside and just make sure your fish is cooked. And the sauce that this makes is delicious. And as you can see, it was a very easy meal to make. While I'm waiting for the veggies to be closer to ready before I put the fish on the grill, I thought, why don't I just do a little bit of quinoa to go with that? So I'm going to make a quick pot of quinoa with maybe some chopped celery, and that'll be a nice little side dish to complement everything here. Okay, for this we'll do 1 cup of water to a half a cup of quinoa. Put the half a cup of quinoa right into the 1 cup of water, and we'll get that going. So I'm going to take, I think I'll just do 1 big piece of celery. This is basically Helen cooking dinner in real life right now. What I'm going to do is saute the celery just in a little bit of olive oil and salt. Once the quinoa comes to a boil, you're just supposed to let it simmer for 15 minutes, and then that will be done. In the meantime, I'm just sauteing the celery just for like 5 minutes, and that'll be finished, and I'll set that aside. The sun is setting. The veggies are ready. The wine is flowing. Perfect. This looks so good. And there you have it. As the sun sets, dinner is served.